Chapter 7, Unexpected Encounters. Fighter. Just after leaving Kiev, heading southwest, as he turns a corner, Ivan collides with a solid mass of muscle and camouflage. He stumbles back, his hand reaching for his weapon, only to freeze as he takes in the sight before him. Two men stand blocking his path, their faces hard and weathered beneath their military caps. On their sleeves, the unmistakable patch of the Azov Battalion, the controversial Ukrainian volunteer militia known for its far-right leanings and fierce commitment to defending Ukraine against Russian aggression. For a moment, Ivan and the Azov fighters simply stare at each other, tension crackling in the air between them. Then, to Ivan's surprise, one of the men lowers his weapon and extends a hand. "You look like you could use some help, friend," he says, his voice gruff but not unkind. Ivan hesitates for a moment, his instincts warring with his desperation. He has heard stories about the Azov Battalion, rumors of their extremist views and their sometimes brutal tactics. But he also knows that they are Ukrainians, that they are fighting for the same cause as he is. Slowly, cautiously, he reaches out and grasps the offered hand. "Dyakuyu, thank you," he says, his voice hoarse from exhaustion and stress. "I'm trying to go to the border. I have just left the city." The Azov fighter nods, understanding etched into the lines of his face. "You're not the first," he says. "The Russians are getting bolder, pushing deeper into the city. We've been trying to hold them back, but," he trails off, his eyes haunted. As Ivan falls into step beside the Azov men, he can't help but feel a sense of unease. He knows the reputation of this group, knows the accusations of neo-Nazism and far-right extremism that dog their steps. And yet, in this moment, they are his allies, his brothers in arms against a common enemy. They move through the oblast like ghosts, the Azov fighters leading Ivan through a maze of unbeaten streets and abandoned villages. They speak little, but Ivan can sense the bond between them, the shared commitment to defending their homeland at any cost. Finally, as dawn begins to break over the horizon, they reach the outskirts of Vinnytsia. The Azov fighters pause, turning to Ivan with serious expressions. "This is where we part ways," one of them says. "The border is about 100 kilometers to the west. Stay off the main roads, and you should be able to make it." Ivan nods, gratitude and relief welling up in his chest. "Thank you," he says again, the words feeling inadequate in the face of what these men have done for him. "I won't forget this." The Azov fighter clasps his shoulder, his grip firm. "We're all in this together," he says, his voice fierce with conviction. "We're all fighting for Ukraine. Never forget that." With a final nod, the Azov men melt back into the shadows, leaving Ivan alone once more. He takes a deep breath, squaring his shoulders against the weight of all he has seen and experienced. He knows that his encounter with the Azov Battalion will stay with him, that it will complicate his understanding of this war and those who fight in it. But for now, he has to focus on the task at hand, on getting back to his unit, back to the fight. And so, with a silent prayer for Nadia and for his country, Ivan sets off into the uncertain dawn, ready to face whatever challenges lie ahead. He is a Ukrainian soldier, a defender of his homeland. And he will not rest until his nation is free. As Ivan makes his way through the streets of Vinnytsia, the capital city of the oblast with the same name, his mind wanders to the events that have led to this moment, to the long and painful history that has brought Ukraine to the brink of destruction. He thinks of the conflict in Donbass, which has been simmering since 2014. What began as protests against the government of then-President Viktor Yanukovych quickly spiraled into a full-blown war, with Russian-backed separatists seizing control of large swathes of eastern Ukraine. The Azov Battalion emerged in the early days of that conflict, formed by volunteers who took up arms to defend their country against what they saw as a foreign invasion. They fought bravely in the battles for Mariupol and other key cities, earning a reputation as some of the most effective fighters on the Ukrainian side. But the war in Donbass has also seen its share of atrocities and tragedies. Ivan's mind flashes to the events in Odessa on May 2, 2014, when clashes between pro-Ukrainian and pro-Russian protesters culminated in a fire at the trade union's house that claimed the lives of 42 people, most of them pro-Russian activists. The images of the charred bodies, of the desperate people jumping from windows to escape the flames, have seared themselves into Ivan's memory. It is a reminder of the terrible human cost of this conflict, of the way that violence can spiral out of control and consume the innocent. In the years since, the people of Ukraine have struggled to come to terms with these events, to find a way forward in a country torn apart by war and division. For some, the Azov Battalion and other volunteer militias are heroes, the only ones willing to stand up and defend Ukraine against Russian aggression. But for others, they are a troubling symbol of the country's descent into violence and extremism, a sign that the dream of a democratic, European Ukraine is slipping away. Ivan knows that many in the international community view the Azov fighters with suspicion, seeing them as neo-Nazis or far-right extremists. And yet, as he thinks of the men who helped him escape, of the courage and sacrifice he has witnessed on the front lines, Ivan can't help but feel a sense of solidarity with these fighters. They are Ukrainians, just like him, fighting for their homes and their families against an enemy that seeks to destroy everything they hold dear. In the end, Ivan knows, the story of this war will be written by the Ukrainian people themselves. It is they who have suffered the most, they who have borne the brunt of the violence and the loss. And it is they who will have to find a way to rebuild their country when the guns finally fall silent. As he presses on through the shattered streets, Ivan feels a renewed sense of purpose, a determination to play his part in that struggle. He might not have all the answers, might not know how to reconcile the complex and often contradictory forces at play in this conflict. But he knows that he will keep fighting, keep pushing forward, until Ukraine is free. For Nadia, for his fellow soldiers, for all those who have given their lives in the name of a better future. It is a heavy burden, but one that Ivan is ready to bear. For the sake of his country, and for the sake of all those he loves. Across the border. Ivan moves swiftly through the sunburned alleys of villages in the Vinnytsia oblast, the region that separates Kiev from the border with Moldova. When possible, he sticks to back roads and forest paths, avoiding the main highways where checkpoints and patrols are more likely. The countryside is a patchwork of fields and villages, the land scarred by the marks of war but still holding a quiet, resilient beauty. As dawn breaks, Ivan takes shelter in a barn on the outskirts of Vinnytsia, a rural settlement located on the banks of the Voronka, a left tributary of the southern Bug River. He's exhausted, his feet blistered and his muscles aching, but he doesn't dare rest for long. He eats sparingly, saving his provisions for the long journey ahead. In the village, he encounters an elderly woman tending to her garden. She eyes him warily at first, but when he offers to help her with her work, her demeanor softens. They chat in low voices, the woman sharing stories of her life, of the hardships and the joys she's experienced. Ivan is moved by her resilience, her determination to carry on despite everything. He moves on, always on the lookout for danger, for any sign that he's being followed or tracked. He thinks of Nadia constantly, picturing her face, drawing strength from the memory of her love. But he resists the urge to reach out, to make contact. It's too risky, he knows. He must maintain radio silence, trust that their bond can weather this separation. As he treks through the forests and fields of the Vinnytsia region, Ivan encounters other travelers, displaced families, lone stragglers like himself, even a group of partisans moving in the shadows. They exchange information, share what meager resources they have. There's a sense of solidarity among them, a shared understanding of the risks and the stakes. Ivan's mind is always working, always planning his next move. He studies his map, calculates routes and distances, tries to anticipate the obstacles he might face. The closer he gets to the Moldovan border, the more tense he becomes. He knows this will be the most dangerous part of his journey, the point where he's most likely to be caught. But he's come too far to turn back now. He thinks of all the people counting on him, of the work that still needs to be done. He thinks of Nadia, of the future they've dreamed of building together. And he knows, with a certainty that goes beyond words, that he will make it through this. That their love, their commitment to each other and to their homeland, will carry him through. As night falls again, Ivan makes his final approach to the border. He moves like a ghost through the darkened woods, every sense attuned to the slightest sound or movement. His heart pounds in his chest, but his hands are steady, his focus absolute. And then, suddenly, he's across. He's standing on Moldovan soil, his body trembling with exhaustion and relief. He wants to laugh, to cry, to shout his triumph to the skies. But he knows he must keep moving, must find his contacts and begin the next phase of his mission. As he walks on into the unknown, Ivan carries Nadia with him, carries the love and the hope and the unbreakable spirit of his people. And he knows, with a faith that goes beyond reason, that someday, somehow, they will be together again. That the dawn will come, and with it, a new beginning for them all. Voices. People. Ivan's heart races as he realizes he's been spotted. In the dim light, he can't make out the uniforms of the figures in the distance. Are they Ukrainian military? Moldovan border patrol? He can't take the chance. Adrenaline surging through his veins, Ivan breaks into a sprint, his feet pounding against the earth. He veers off the path, plunging into the thick underbrush. Branches whip at his face, thorns tearing at his clothes, but he doesn't slow down. He can hear shouts behind him, the sound of pursuit. Ivan's mind is a whirlwind of panic and calculation. He needs to find cover, needs to lose his pursuers in the dense foliage. He zigzags through the trees, trying to confuse his trail, listening intently for the sound of footsteps or voices. His lungs burn, his muscles scream in protest, but Ivan pushes on. He thinks of Nadia, of the promise he made to return to her. He thinks of all the people counting on him, of the mission he's yet to complete. He can't fail, can't let himself be captured. Suddenly, he spots a small ravine, half hidden by the undergrowth. Without hesitation, he dives into it, pressing himself flat against the damp earth. He holds his breath, his heart hammering in his ears, as the sound of his pursuers draws closer. For an eternity, he lies there, hardly daring to breathe. He can hear the crunch of boots on leaves, the murmur of voices just above him. Every muscle in his body is tense, ready to spring into action if he's discovered. But gradually, the sounds fade. The voices drift away, the footsteps recede into the distance. Ivan waits, counting out the seconds, until he's sure they're gone. Then, slowly, cautiously, he emerges from his hiding place. He's shaken, his nerves raw and frayed, but he's alive. He's free. And he knows, with a bone-deep certainty, that he can't stop now. That he must keep going, must see this journey through to the end. Taking a deep breath, Ivan orients himself, gets his bearings. He's off the path, deep in the wilderness, but he trusts his instincts, his ability to navigate by the stars and the lay of the land. He sets off again, moving more cautiously now, all his senses on high alert. As he walks, Ivan tries to calm his racing thoughts, to focus on the task at hand. He knows the road ahead will be long and perilous, knows that he will face many more challenges and dangers before he reaches his destination. But he also knows that he's not alone. That even in this moment of solitude, he carries the love and the strength of all those who are fighting alongside him, Nadia, his comrades in the resistance, the brave souls he's met along the way. And so, with every step, Ivan reaffirms his commitment, his determination to see this through. For himself, for Nadia, for the future they dream of building together. He will run, he will hide, he will do whatever it takes. Because in the end, he knows that their love, their hope, their unbreakable spirit, will always find a way. That no matter how dark the night, the dawn will come. And with it, the promise of a new day, a new beginning, a new chance to build the world they know is possible. Europe. Ivan emerges from the wilderness, his heart keeps pounding in his chest, after barely escaping from his captors, and he knows they would be searching for him. Every sound, every flicker of movement, made him flinch, his nerves stretched to the breaking point. But as he takes in his surroundings, a wave of relief washes over him. He's made it. He's in Moldova, in safe territory. He knows he can't rest yet, though. His ultimate goal is to reach Romania, where he can freely communicate with the outside world, where he can finally share the message of peace that burns in his heart. As Ivan makes his way through the Moldovan countryside, he's struck by the kindness and generosity of the people he meets. Despite their own hardships, they open their homes and their hearts to him, offering him refuge, sustenance, and most importantly, a listening ear. Around humble dinner tables and over cups of strong, sweet tea, Ivan shares his story. He tells them of the horrors he's witnessed, of the bravery and resilience of the Ukrainian people. He speaks of Nadia, of the love that drives him forward, of the dream of a future free from war and suffering. And the Moldovans listen. They nod in understanding, their eyes glistening with tears. They too know the pain of conflict, the yearning for peace. And in Ivan, they recognize a kindred spirit, a beacon of hope in a world gone mad. With their help, Ivan makes his way to Chișinău, the Moldovan capital. From there, he's able to secure passage to Bucharest, the heart of Romania and the gateway to the European Union. As he crosses the border once more, Ivan feels a sense of anticipation, of purpose. He knows that this is where his true mission begins, where he can finally harness the power of his story to effect real change. In Bucharest, Ivan wastes no time. He reaches out to journalists, to activists, to anyone who will listen. He tells his tale on radio shows and in newspaper interviews, his voice unwavering, his conviction clear. And the world listens. Ivan's message of peace, of the indomitable spirit of the Ukrainian people, resonates across the airwaves. European leaders take notice, moved by his eloquence, by the urgency of his plea. Back in the shelter in Kiev, Nadia and the others gather around a small, crackling radio. When they hear Ivan's voice, when they realize that their story is being told, that their struggle has not been forgotten, they erupt in cheers and tears. Nadia's heart swells with pride and love. She always knew that Ivan was destined for great things, that his courage and compassion could move mountains. And now, hearing him speak truth to power on an international stage, she knows that their sacrifices, their pain, has not been in vain. In that moment, despite the distance that separates them, Nadia feels closer to Ivan than ever. She knows that he carries her with him, just as she carries him in her heart. And she knows that together, even from afar, they are changing the world, one story, one soul at a time. As Ivan's voice continues to ring out, as the shelter echoes with laughter and song, Nadia closes her eyes and pictures the future they're fighting for. A future where children can grow up without fear, where families can thrive in peace, where the beauty and strength of the Ukrainian spirit can flourish. It's a future worth believing in, worth striving for. And with Ivan's words lighting the way, with the love and support of millions around the world, Nadia knows that it's a future within reach. The road may be long, the challenge is great. But in that moment of triumph, of connection across the miles, Nadia and Ivan and all those who stand with them know that they are not alone. That they are part of something greater, something unbreakable. And that together, they will build the world they know is possible. One of peace, of justice, of endless possibility. A world where love, in the end, always wins. Return. After his successful broadcast from Bucharest, Ivan knows it's time to return to Ukraine, to Nadia, and the work that awaits him. But he also knows that his journey back won't be easy. With martial law in effect, no man of fighting age is allowed to leave the country without official authorization. Determined to make it back to Kiev, Ivan cautiously crosses the border into Ukraine. But his luck runs out as he's spotted by a patrol of Ukrainian soldiers. Before he can explain himself, he's detained, his protests falling on deaf ears. Ivan finds himself in a stark, cold cell, his mind reeling with the sudden turn of events. He's questioned relentlessly by stern-faced officers who suspect him of desertion, of trying to abandon his country in its hour of need. Ivan tries to explain his mission, his purpose, but his words seem to fall on deaf ears. The officers are skeptical, their eyes hard with suspicion. Ivan's heart sinks as he realizes the gravity of his situation. But just as despair begins to set in, a glimmer of hope appears. Major Kovalenko enters the room. As he listens to Ivan's story, a flicker of recognition crosses his face. They met before, after the rescue mission at the filtration camp, Donetsk region. "I remember you," boasted the high-ranking officer. "You saved that woman and her little baby. You can't stay out of trouble, Molody Cholovik, young man, can you?" he added with a smile. Kovalenko, it turns out, had heard Ivan's broadcast from Bucharest. He had been moved by Ivan's words, by his passionate plea for peace and unity. And now, seeing the young man before him, he realizes that this is no deserter, but a true patriot. With a firm nod, Kovalenko orders Ivan's release. He claps the young man on the shoulder, his eyes shining with respect. "Your country needs more men like you," he says gruffly. "Men of courage, of conviction. Go back to Kiev, son. Finish the work you've started." Ivan is overcome with emotion, with gratitude for this unexpected ally. He thanks Kovalenko profusely, his voice trembling with relief. As he steps out into the sunlight, a free man once more, Ivan's heart is filled with a renewed sense of purpose. He knows that the road ahead will be challenging, that the war is far from over. But he also knows that he's not alone. That there are others, like Major Kovalenko, who believe in the power of peace, of dialogue, of the unbreakable human spirit. With a spring in his step, Ivan sets off towards Kiev, towards Nadia and the life they fought so hard to protect. He carries with him the hopes and dreams of a nation, the love and support of countless souls around the world. And he knows, with a certainty that goes beyond words, that together, they will prevail. That the dawn will come, and with it, a new era of peace and prosperity for Ukraine. As Ivan walks, his mind is filled with visions of the future, of laughter-filled streets and thriving communities, of a land healed and whole once more. And at the center of it all, the unwavering love between him and Nadia, a bond that has weathered the worst of storms and emerged stronger than ever. With each step, Ivan feels the weight of the past lifting from his shoulders, replaced by the lightness of hope, of possibility. He knows that there will be more struggles ahead, more obstacles to overcome. But he also knows that he's ready. That they're all ready, the brave men and women of Ukraine, the allies they've found in the most unexpected places, the global community that has rallied to their cause. Together, they will write a new chapter in the story of their nation. A story of resilience, of unity, of the triumph of the human spirit. And Ivan will be there, every step of the way, holding fast to the love and the hope that have carried him through the darkest of times.